Welcome to the Daily Telegraph NRL Podcast. Adam Mobbs here again this week, and if you missed the trials at the weekend, this is pretty much how it went. Parramatta went up 10-0 over the Raiders, and I sent a message saying we're going to win the comp, and then by full time I was back to trials mean nothing. So with that, I've got to bring in Fatima Kadoo and no Raiders tragic, because we haven't had this conversation yet.
No, but completely the opposite, because I went into the trials really fearing for what Canberra, how much they might struggle this year. They're probably going to have very inexperienced spine, but yeah, we did one over the Eels, so maybe trials form does matter.
Yeah, well, I was bringing Russell Jackson here. Russ, you and I had that chat yesterday that this is the perfect situation for Ricky Stewart, because they've written off the Raiders, they've lost Jack Whiten, they've got these young guys, but rather everyone's been focusing on what the Raiders don't have. But geez, he's been working on that pathways and those guys. He's been recruiting some really good young kids. And
Russ was saying that Mick was carving him up on the podcast last week, so he's probably going to have that on repeat in the dressing room at training.
Just play that before training
probably
sessions.
played that at half time. That's what did me in.
They got some great prospects, the Raiders. They're going to be fun to watch. I don't know how they'll end up this year, and maybe class will tell in the end. But I have a new favourite player, and that is Noah Martin, this teenage back rower. He is just all action. Unfortunately, he got suspended. But he's got to lower his target zones or whatever. But he is something else. I love watching that kid. Country boy, scored a try, put on some great hits, got one wrong on your man Moretti, I think. But,
it happens.
But they've got some really good kids. But I don't know what else they're going to do this year. But they're going to be fun to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, fun to watch for Supercoach players as well, because there's a lot of Supercoach relevant players there. Kids like Xerri Stewart, KO Weeks look good at number 6. So, yeah, they are very much so one to watch.
Yeah. Tell you what, we'll get to the All-Stars in a moment, but your man Joey Tapine, I thought he did pretty well. He looked like he's fit and firing. So, I know Paul Crawley's favourite player.
Is he?
Oh, loves him. Loves him.
Yeah, I actually heard Joe talk in the off-season just about how he's, kind of really relishing being one of the more senior guys in that pack now. The reality is, as much as we adore Josh Papali as Raiders fans, he's probably slowing down a little bit. So it's really, on Joe to sort of step up and be that leader in the pack. And, there's also people like Morgan Smithies, and I'm really excited to see and how that goes. So, I think he's in for a big year, but I think he's in for a big year because he sort of has to be. It's sort of been thrust upon him, and he's got that big contract as well to prove. And I think if there are weaknesses in Canberra's spine, where they'll be held in really good stead this year is in that forward pack.
Well, that'll be interesting. You got some breaking news to kick off with as well.
Yes, I do. Sorry, my phone screen just turned off. So we've got Zion Maui. Are we saying that right? Or are we talking about Dom Young?
No, or both.
Well, both. Okay, let's do Zion first. So he is facing up to 5 weeks on the sideline, 4 weeks with a early plea for his shot on Declan Casey, of course. So. It wasn't a good look. There was a lot of guys who...
Sickening.
It was
a shocker.
Who missed their mark on the weekend, but that was probably one of the worst ones. And
we're seeing a lot of big guys. They've got to work. They've got to lower their target zones, and it's good that they've punished this tackle. We saw, I think, Tom Hazelton from the Sharks as well. Just because you're tall doesn't mean you can hit blokes in the head. There's a few of these big guys who...
He didn't all of a sudden get to be 6'7".
That's right.
He's whatever.
That's right. They just got to be
boy.
consistent with this. I mean, that was a bad tackle on that Tigers kid. I believe he was up and about soon after, and he's okay. Last report, so hopefully we see him back on the park soon. But these target zones are just are ridiculous. These big blokes coming in high all the time, whether they're dropping on people with crushes or they're just coming in and whacking blokes with their knees and things. Like, get down, get low, but just keep pinging them refs.
Yeah, it wasn't good to see. It's never good to see a player medicap off the field, but I just wondered whether it was a little bit in the trials, everyone's got a bit of rust and everyone's sort of figuring out all that sort of stuff, but still, that one is probably one of the worst ones we saw on the weekend. Samuel Afenu as well, he got off with a $1,000 fine. I don't know, maybe I'm being nitpicky, but there were 2 men already, 2 Tigers defenders already in that tackle. And then he came in with a swinging arm right at the end. That was completely unnecessary. So I reckon he's got a pretty easy with that one. Just a fine.
Yep. And Russ, how are you feeling now that Dominic Young's been ruled out of Vegas? That's disappointing.
Yeah, it's terrible. And the tackle was a shocker. And again, it's from these guys just jumping in over the top and putting themselves in these ridiculous positions. And of course, no one's this whole suggestion, he didn't do it deliberately, whatever. But the setup is all wrong, and it's always going to go wrong. Guys coming in over the top like that and dropping down, just. What was really disappointing, and I'm glad he copped a decent ban, but I thought the on-field refereeing around that was just pathetic. To see that replay and not say, hey, look, this guy at least deserves to sit down. Teams should be punished for that. You make a tackle like that, your team should suffer the consequences, and so should the player.
Yeah.
And that was at the time. That's before we knew how bad. Dom Young's situation was. It was a bad tackle. That's all his body weight dropping onto Dom Young's neck.
It's as dangerous as those head-high shots. That tackle can be very dangerous. I feel like we're playing with fire because the consequences of that tackle going wrong are absolutely horrific. And the big thing is, like, when you look at Vegas and you look at how it's been advertised as this showpiece for our game, like, you want to see someone like Dom Young playing in that game, with his acrobatic put downs and just the way he's got this kind of charming aesthetic about him. He's exactly the kind of player that we want to be marketing to the Americans.
Yeah, I think for too long we the old tagline, it's a rugby league accident, gets thrown around, and we hear that all the time. And thankfully didn't hear it this time, but we hear that all the time. It's not an accident. If a guy's coming in that position, it's just not good. The setup is so wrong. I don't know.
And we're to that point now where you very much know that where your tackle zone is. It's not something that's, I know these guys have been coming through for years and years learning a certain tackle style, but now you've had enough time that there's no excuses on it, so it needs to be that zero tolerance policy for it, because... Yeah.
But a guy folding over the top of Blake, even if he's not crushing him, he's still making contact with the Blake's head and neck. So that's wrong.
Yeah.
Just take it out of the game.
Yeah.
Sort it out.
And so, Dom Young facing possible surgery now. He's out of Vegas. Toff Sipley expected to take a 3-match early guilty plea.
Yep.
So he will miss Vegas. I'll tell you what, it's almost like missing an Origin but not being on that plane over there, wouldn't it? There's some serious talent now on the back of Jack White and Jarabria Hargraves who aren't going to be there. And as we sort of mentioned last night when we broke the story, that Dom Young's been used in advertising to promote the game over there. He would have electrified them.
Yeah, absolutely.
The flip side of that, on the other wing, Daniel Tupou, the great Daniel Tupou.
Well, hang on. I'm just going to take you to task a little bit here. You and I, we're pretty good mates, and you and I sat there, and I lent on your Roosters knowledge about the back five and how the makeup would be.
I never suggested to drop today.
You didn't. You didn't suggest it, but did you at one point say to me?
There's no way. I think I did the story last week. There's no way he's re-signed to play reserve grade anyway, and he's so highly regarded. Everybody.
Did we not get to a conversation where he said, maybe it is my man Tupou? We just didn't know. But
I was fearing that. But he's insane.
Consummate professional. Yep. Just so good.
He's so good. Anyway.
Well, like I said, there's a reason that he's been the front of Robbo's mind in that wing spot for a decade. He's
that's right.
Sees off all comers. He's had a belated run in Origin as well, and terrific. So, what'd you make of Manly?
They did well, I thought.
Don't patronise them.
No, I thought they did well. They had a lot of possession in that.
They did.
The referee was dinging set restarts. Like, guys, come on, what are you doing here? But that was and I thought they looked okay. I'm not sure. I don't know about Manly. I mean, I liked what I saw last week of Ben Trebojevic. I thought his performance was really exciting. I like what Luke Brooks brought to the table as well. But we won't see what they're made of until Vegas. When DCE and Turbo and that.
Interesting.
Schuster's the man, isn't he? He's well, not the man. I think he's not going to start.
So he'll play this weekend against Brisbane in that trial. And as Anthony Seibold said before the game, that he's got to prove himself worthy of a spot in the 17. He didn't say starting; he said in the 17. So, and Sieb said that
which
the guys,
is a massive call when you think about it. They've hung their hat on the Trbojevic brothers and that Schuster, really. So like if
big money.
it is big money. If they're already saying that his spot in the 17 is in jeopardy, that doesn't sound good for his future at the club.
I like the fact that Seibold is rewarding the hard work. And Ben Trebojevic looks in super condition, and he's worked so hard. And I like that Seibold's done that. I think it sends a really good message to everybody at Manly, in particular Josh Schuster.
Well, he said, didn't he say on Fox Lee's coverage on Saturday that guys like Daly Cherry Evans, Tom Trbojevic, Jake Trbojevic didn't need to play trials in his mind because they know what it's all about.
They know what
they're fit. They're fit. Quick shout out to Jake Trbojevic. Him and his partner Alex got engaged. First one of the brothers to walk down the aisle.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Very good.
I
wonder if Reedy's getting an invite to that wedding.
Yeah.
From
Will Wayne Cousins MC it? Or
maybe. He's a great cousin. He does do a bit of that work. So, a long-time Manly media manager. So, interesting to see that he didn't go to the Titans in a package deal with Des, but they broke free, those guys. So, no, he's Manly through and through there, Cuzzo. So, good fella.
Yep.
Do you want to talk Parramatta? Do we just, they didn't have many first graders playing. It's nothing to look at. There's no one to talk about here.
Yeah.
Well, look, we'll get into it.
What do you think? Round one, what's on your mind? Is there a standout issue for you?
Yeah. Oh, look.
Are you worried you won't make the 8? Have you ever had that? Yeah.
Well,
I did my top 8 the other day, and
what's the problem?
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Combank was once a fortress. They won 62% of games there last season. That's not acceptable.
Yep.
Last season was all self-inflicted wounds. The Ryan Madison 3-match ban over the fine, the Dylan Brown issue, and then you had injuries like Sean Lane barely played. He was, Parramatta's best forward, edge forward for the year before, and barely played through injury. But a lot of self-inflicted wounds. You've now re-signed Dylan Brown and Mitchell Moses on long-term deals that are likely to see young Ethan Sanders head out, who did okay in the trial.
What do you think of him?
He did okay in the trial.
Blaze as well.
Blaze Talangi playing fullback, so he's. I think interesting to see BA's thoughts there on Blaze, because he's been a half who's then transitioned to the centres and now got a job at fullback. I think we saw at the weekend that if fullback's going to be his role, I'm not sure it's going to be, that probably needs a bit more work in his game to get there, but some bright spots. I thought Kelma Tuolangi did okay.
Is he the X Factor answer?
I think he's too young to be the X Factor answer just yet.
I'm just thinking out loud, because we've heard a lot about, do they need an X Factor, maybe someone at fullback to move Gutho into centre, the rest of it. Like, is he... Because we heard, we know from kind of seeing him come through, even they were going on about it in the commentary, this kid's such a talent, this kid's such a freak. Maybe he is the answer.
Yeah, interesting, because they've lost a couple of guys, Arthur Miller-Stephen and Richard Penasini, two of the young guys from that SG ball setup that's come through, who are now out for the year. So there is that crop of guys coming through. I'm really interested to see what Sam Tuivasa, the big prop, big forward, does when he comes through. I think these guys might just be 12 months away. So Parramatta have got money in the salary cap, but at the moment, and who doesn't? Everyone's sitting there waiting for something to happen. And
what do you make of Kelma Tuolangi?
He did okay. The first half was okay. Second half, I don't think they played really well. I think defensively, obviously concerns. They conceded a lot of points last season, Parramatta, and that's been an area. I mean, they've always backed themselves to outscore teams anyway, but they're the great walking contradiction, aren't they? Missed the top 8 and beat Penrith twice. The talent's there, and when you bring big guns back in, Hickey Ogden played pretty well for mine.
Sean Lane back's good. It's good to see him back.
Yep, Too Tall Lane, the Forrest Gump Mad Monday outfit. I'll never forget that.
That was great.
That was one of the all-time. So
certainly was.
Again, no time to stress, but maybe I went off a little early with we're going to win the comp call after 12 minutes.
Who is going to win the comp?
Yeah.
Have we had a...
Do you know the Sydney Roosters are $9 to win the premiership?
I reckon they're going to... I know I said Penrith in my predictions, but I reckon a full-strength Roosters team this year is going to be hard to beat.
I'm kind of like The Last Dance, that 6 year. it's Penrith until you can beat them. You know, they were 4.5 minutes away from losing to Brisbane last year.
Yeah.
And the issue I thought the Broncos were terrific. Obviously they wanted to make a bit of a statement against their rivals, the Cowboys, before they head off for Vegas themselves. Showed that they can put some points on the board again. My concern is obviously the 4 guys out of the 17 from the grand final that they lost. Palacia, Flegler, Farnworth and Capewell. So replacing that all in one hit is going to be tough. But you know, when you've got a team that just, you talk about swagger and confidence and you know, Reece Walsh is 21.
So good.
Cobbo in the centres.
Cobbo in the centres was good,
Picker is the concern, of course, having scans on his knee. He was terrific as well. What a player he is. They're looking pretty good. I worry about the Broncos getting a bit full of themselves, though. They're maybe believing
their hype. Haven't they always been full of themselves?
I just think
not in 2020.
You know, I felt like in the grand final they even did. They got they celebrated too much. I know what Ezra Mam did was spectacular, bloody incredible. But I don't know. They just went off like the game was over. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm reading too much into that, but I don't know. I hope they don't believe their hype too much, Brisbane, because to match it with the likes of Penrith, you got to get down and dirty, and we'll see what they're made of.
Yeah. The big one, obviously, kicked off with trials on Thursday night. The Bulldogs, who, if not for some real great goal line defence by the Storm, could have put 40 points on. You know, Melbourne very under strength, obviously. Let's go straight to one. Bronson Xerri, his return. Thoughts?
I don't know whether they were playing it down the whole way through, because I spent a bit of time out there in the pre-season, and all the feedback we got was he's come back fit, he looks great, but you know, he's been out for a long time, he might need to ease through New South Wales Cup, and maybe that was very deliberate to sort of play down the hype around him. But honestly, he didn't look like he has
to pick him
missed
for round 1.
4 years of footy, you know. So he looked really good, and if he's there, why would you not? Why would you not pick him?
Such a big body.
He is such a big body, and you know,
no pun intended there.
No pun intended. He looks fit, and he looks like he's done the hard work in the pre-season. I think if you're a Canterbury fan and a West Tigers fan, you're probably pleased by what you saw on the weekend, because it shows that the hard work is sort of beginning to pay off. So, but again, like it's that mystery, that enigma. Nobody really knows what Ciro is going to do, what his team's going to look like. So we got a tiny glimpse. But
7's an issue.
Seven's the issue. But before we move on to that, for what I noticed about Xerri was it got one late in the piece where the ball went outside. He got outside the winger. He was in the centre role, and he just sped to the line. And you know he's got the pace. He's been working with Roger Fabry. The physicality's not been the issue. It's how he'd come back. But the decision making, his catch and pass, the when to hold it, that was all there. And I think defensively solid. So. That I thought that would have been really impressive for Cameron Ciraldo, seeing that, because it's all good to see it in training and work on this, and like you said, they might have been smothering a little bit to play things down, which you know, can't blame them for. But for what he showed for mine, you've got to pick him. So if he's one centre, Stephen Crichton the other centre, what do you think? Blake Taff fullback, did he do enough to hold it? Do they then shift Crichton to fullback, Taff to 14? Who's 6? Who's 7?
We were talking before about this. If you're a Doggies fan, you want to see Crichton at least have a run at fullback. You want to see that potentially like this week. Cause
show us your cards, Ciro. We want to see it.
Do it. Yeah. Don't just plonk him in the centres and. But you got to give Crichton a crack at fullback just to see what he can do for this team. Because Taff's a very he's a gutsy player. He's not going to stop trying. But Stephen Crichton is elite, and he could be an elite fullback. And he'll brain it in the centres as well.
Oh,
but
absolutely. Yeah.
For that team, I don't know. I'd want to see him have a crack at fullback.
I find it hard to believe, considering the kind of money they're paying him, that they bought him there to play centre. But obviously, if they've got other options and that's the best thing for them, then you know, he's a 3-time premiership winning centre, so he's not going to it's not going to be a bad decision if he plays there. But you know, and then if Bronson Xerri's got one centre, then you've got even the other centre. If Critter's at fullback, then you've got to decide: is it someone like Connor Tracy? Is it, you know, someone else? So there's still a lot of pieces in that puzzle that haven't fallen into place yet.
As good as all that was, and the Dogs and everything, the standout for me was Ryan Pappenhausen, that try he scored. And you just saw what a absolutely top shelf player he is.
Any concerns about that ankle?
Oh man, just the pace he does things at, he's so exciting. And you know, Craig Bellamy, like, would be you'd just be like, oh, please don't get injured again, because if that bloke stays fit, they can do anything. He's just a superstar. I love watching him play. Fingers crossed that they can keep him in one piece.
Yeah, as much as I want to see Pappenhausen stay healthy and kill it, I'm really curious to see what a fit Pappenhausen means for someone like Suafa-Alogo. I mean, there's talk that they might play him off the bench just because he and Paps do have such a good combination. But yeah, it was definitely good to see Paps back and with a smile as well. You know, he's had a really rough time of it lately, but he looks like he's fit and firing.
Yeah. So I want to get to the Dragons because, you know, all reports out there, they tried really hard, they worked their butts off, but this was a South side without Latrell Mitchell, without Cody Walker, without Shaq Mitchell, without Damien Cook. You didn't have Jack White in there, and tries they might St George Illawarra 28-6, and that concerns me. I know it's just trials, and I say they don't matter, but I mean, they could be in for a long season. Yeah, I think the poor Dragons fans would have known mentally it was going to be a long season, but this trial probably, you know, solidified that for them. So again, I know it's just a trial, and you know, they showed some signs early on. And you thought, okay, this looks like this looks like a Shane Flanagan coach team. It was a real arm wrestle early, wasn't it?
Yeah. So you thought, oh, okay, maybe they're going to surprise everyone here. But then when the wheels fell off, it was just, you know, the wheels fell off. So, but everyone knows that, you know, they haven't really recruited heavily in the off season. I mean, you know, Kyle Flanagan was okay. You know, it'd be interesting to see what his combination with Ben Hunt looks like. But yeah, it looks like that they're in for a long season.
What do you make of Zach Lomax to the wing?
I don't like it. I wanted to see him. I want to see him closer to the action,
close to the ball.
Give him a shot. I'd almost want to see what he can do at fullback again.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the whole, you know, when Flanagan was talking about Lomax, the chat was he's got a plan for him, and everyone thought that plan meant that he was going to play fullback. So to see him come out on the wing, it's like, okay, well, what's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, he's one of their best striking players, and to have him stuck out on the wing is a very interesting decision. Yeah,
and look, the final score, because, you know, St George Illawarra went to their kids in the second half a lot, so I won't take. Yeah, you know, I won't be too critical there, but you know, for what South were missing, for what St George Illawarra had in that first half, I didn't see enough from them. So
what I did really like though was this little South fullback,
Jai Gray.
Jai Gray, my God, isn't he?
Isn't he small? He's
quick,
I didn't realise that. Yeah, how small he is
so
too.
Good.
Yeah,
he is such an exciting player. You'd be pretty happy if you're a Bunnies fan. Just a little bit of depth there.
Laid on a nice try. Stopped Tyrell Sloan at one point in a one-on-one.
Yeah, when the big guns are away, Origin, etc. They've got a little cult hero there. Terrific performance from him.
He's one that JD mentioned when I spoke to him. I think it was late last year about that. So he was one that he sort of said, Jai's somebody that's really impressed me in the pre-season. So definitely another one to look out for.
Yep, for sure.
Tell you a question without notice. So the three teams who missed the finals last year that a lot of people had in around Parramatta, South Sydney, Manly. Who is the one that should storm in? You know, who's got more expectation on them now? Parramatta, grand finalists 18 months ago to out of the 8. South Sydney leading the comp after 11 rounds last year and missing the 8, recruiting Jack White and having a pretty good team coming through. And of course, Manly picking up Luke Brooks, Tom Trbojevic back fit. Expectation and pressure on all three coaches.
No, very much so. Very much so. I think when you look at all those rosters and the superstars that they've got, that each coach has got at their disposal, yes, big things are expected. But God, Manly, everything always hinges on Turbo's fitness, doesn't it? And South's, Latrell and different things around Latrell, whether it's discipline and or fitness or whatever.
So who do you back to climb higher on the ladder?
Oh my God.
I would say South. I think a lot of things went wrong for them. Obviously, when the Trolls are not playing, they're not winning. But they've got the team. If you noticed in that game, just they felt like a happy outfit. JD was on the sideline. They were celebrating every try. It seemed to be whatever dogged them towards the end of last year isn't there anymore. And sometimes that's all it takes for the pieces to fall together. So, I don't know. I'm not sold on Manly. I know a lot of people, have them in their top 8, but of those three, I'd probably say South Sydney. And if you're an Eels fan, I'd be really worried if you missed the 8 again.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh there.
Was that involuntary? What happened?
Sorry. Can we cut that?
I know. It's interesting because all three have so much to prove, and then you look at last year's top 8, who drops out? Canberra, they drop out. Obvious ones from, when you look at the calibre of teams that made it. Newcastle need to prove that they're more than that club record 10-match winning run. The Sharks haven't recruited much this year as well. So
there's been also a few people saying the Warriors will drop out, but did you see Roger took us a check yesterday?
We didn't even talk about that. How good to see him back.
What a weapon.
And so much of what the Warriors does relies on Sean Johnson. Like I said before, I think the Dally M snub will work in his favour, but you've got Luke Metcalf, Chanel Harris,
who played really well on the weekend. Luke Metcalf, So they're looking good too. I don't think I had them in my 8 after I watched them on the weekend. I was like, maybe that was a mistake, but I feel like there's going to be a logjam for those teams sort of between like 4 and 8. But then again, we keep saying about teams like the Storm, it's their time to sort of drop back a bit. It never happens. Penrith, it's actually in a salary cap era for a team to be that good for so long is just. You're just sort of waiting for one wheel to fall off, but it hasn't seemed to have happened. So it's going to be a tight race this year, I think.
Is there anything we haven't touched on yet? Dolphins, they were a bit more full strength than the Titans, and a bit of ring rust trying to get combinations right.
New boys did well. So
Herbie was good.
It's just about them getting through unscathed, and they did that.
Knights and Sharks as well.
I thought the Knights particularly. I like Jack Cogger. I think he's a good player.
That's one for me.
I'm thinking 7 all day. Like I don't know what they do with the 6. Whether it's Hastings and Gamble goes as a utility, but they've got a logjam of utilities, haven't they? So I don't know, but I like Cogger's game.
From what and my thinking is the only reason I'm a little hesitant is because the Penrith GST, are you as good outside of that operation as what you are? But I think we saw in the grand final what Jack Cogger did to help.
I was just going to say,
to help Nathan Cleary. I think he's a better player than Tyson Gamble. I'd have Cogger and Hastings there. For me, I don't think they're too same. You've got guys that can take pressure off each other. That's whether you want a more running style with Gamble, but it's a good conundrum for Adam O'Brien to have because years gone by where the Knights haven't really had the halves.
I'd like to see Gamble part of. I don't know how they can do it, but I'd like to see him part of their 17. I just think he brings that. He's just one of those guys. He's just so enthusiastic. It's infectious, and he's not scared of anybody. He's
not Willie Mason, not anyone.
He's such a goer. He's such a goer, and the players just swarm around him. So hopefully there's a spot for him. But if you're picking the halves,
it's interesting because it's like when Jackson Hastings was at the Tigers and sort of some of that tension, if you want to use that word, was around where he plays. You know, is he at 13? Is he half? But with Jack Cogger there, is he at 13? And then Jack Cogger comes into the halves with Tyson Gamble. So, I agree with Russ. I think Cogger is probably too good to be on the bench, but I guess a lot of teams carry that kind of utility that can play across multiple positions in the back line. It is going to be an interesting decision for Adam O'Brien.
Yeah, I just feel like Cogger's there to start. That's probably what's been offered to him. He's a number 7 jersey. I reckon that's the carrot that was dangled for him to return to Newcastle. So
that avenue of going to the UK, you know, not quite being able to cut through or hold down that spot in the end, or going to the UK, owning your craft, directing teams around the park, coming home, proving yourself, and you know, it seems like he's ticking the boxes because you know, when he first came through at Newcastle, Cogger, he was seen as a really good talent and a guy that would be there long term. So it hasn't quite worked out that way to start with.
Even Ivan, I think, said last year at some point, because him and Nathan Cleary are about the same age, that Cogger was, you know, way above what Nathan Cleary was at that time during their development, and he's sort of kept his eye on him ever since. So, are we going to talk about the Tigers, or are we just going to leave? Long-suffering Tigers fans.
Well, they got a win.
Yeah, they did get a win. That's I think, if you're a Tigers fan,
you'll take that.
You take it.
The win.
You feel good about it.
What did you make of it?
Get excited.
What did you, you know? Win's a win.
Yeah, that's right. It's look, that's all they can do. I think win some games, build some confidence in the club. It's pretty simple for the Tigers. Be competitive, get your wins and confidence, and then the guys will start to develop from there. But I don't know if are we any closer to solving their issues. Jaden Sullivan.
Look, I think you know what they've got to do this year.
In season.
They've got to work out their 6-7. You know, Dream Bull is going to be 1. You know, Abby Coruscant is going to be 9. They've got. We've spoken about it ad nauseum. They've got a good forward pack. So it's you know, I'm trying to figure out what kind of year this is going to be for Benji, or how he's going to be judged, because a third wooden spoon will be disastrous. But would it be the worst thing for them if they can show improvement in some areas, knowing you've got Jerome Luai coming in next year? But I don't want Luai's arrival to be the excuse of, you know, don't worry about it.
No,
Jerome's coming. This year's a write-off. We're going to see what kind of coach Benji is this year, because hasn't had an opportunity to coach a team. You know, last year he had, you know, he took on a lot of responsibilities with Tim Sheens. They did a lot of the day-to-day running of things, but you've got it's a whole different mindset where you have to be front and centre at press conferences, meeting corporates, coaching, managing players' expectations, being the bad guy where you need to be. So we'll see what happens, but
having your decisions prosecuted in a presser, it's going to be interesting. But I mean, his mission, I think, this year, is restoring pride in that club.
Stability,
making them competitive.
Stability, playing style, and have it all set up for when Luai arrives in 12 months to then really take those steps forward. So,
I mean, they showed some good signs in defence. There was some good cover defence and some, defence on the try line that was sort of impressive by them. And so at least that looks like it's an area that's going to be improved for them. But it's an interesting one. I mean, Aiden Caesar didn't do too badly at all, and I know it was only a trial, but it didn't look like he'd been missing from the NRL for how many other years? 4 years that he was over there. So I know he's only got a 1-year deal, but then that also adds a sort of interesting discussion point, considering Luai's coming. Latu Fanu's on a big deal, Jaden Sullivan's on a big deal. So, I mean, they look like they're beginning to have the right pieces of the puzzle in play, but again, it's all going to come back to Benji to see whether he can actually do anything with it in his first year as a coach.
Well, watching Caesar and Sullivan link up for that second try of the Tigers was nice work, and you saw a little bit, you think, geez, Benji can just figure out, because the concern I have with when you have too many players there is if you chop and change, you don't get any continuity, and that affects everything in what you do. So halves, you absolutely need it, because if that's the one he's going with early, then give him the chance to run with it. We saw a little bit at the Dragons in recent years where Bud Sullivan came in and out of the team. Tyrell Sloan did the same thing, and that was probably a criticism of what the Dragons were doing at the time, because when you have too many guys at utility options or whatever else, you've got to, get with it and stick with it. If you back your judgment in and see how they go. So.
Yeah, I like the idea of an experienced half like Caesar steering this team around. So that's, you can understand his selection. I think he's a good pickup for them. I like him. He's got a good kicking game. He's a smart player. He won't overplay. Just keep it simple. Tigers will keep it simple, and maybe the razzle dazzle, the Benji razzle dazzle will come a little bit later. Hopefully, a few flick passes.
Well, and there's the guy there, John Morris, who get him there, get that defensive line set. Get the combinations there, get the trust in the guy that's playing inside you, you look Stefano, Isaiah Papali, Fanua Pole, Bateman, Clemmer. You've got
like I said, the recipe, the ingredients of the recipe are there. It's just whether it's just whether Benji can put it all together. Isaiah Papali, I thought, considering there's always been some talk about him being unhappy there or kind of wanting out early, looked like he played with a bit of purpose, which is good. Stefano Tuikamanu, I feel like he's going to be in for a really big season. So, there are good things happening. Whether those good things, convert into competition points is a completely different story. But there's things to be hoped for, at least more so than if you're a Dragons fan, I think.
Yeah. And who have the Tigers got this weekend? They're up against
the Dragons.
At Mudgee.
This will be an interesting one.
Oh, what a game.
Yeah.
That'd be very interesting out there at Glen Willow. Great ground out there.
Yeah, that's
out at Mudgee.
Good surface.
It's wine country, mate, so those Queen's Park people, it's a reason for you guys to head west.
Sure.
Anything west of Pyrmont, Western Sydney.
I won't be going to that match. I won't be going to that match. No.
Dear me. Yeah, well, I look forward to that. Rabbitohs Roosters, I want to say you're a non-event on Friday night, but
it's a bit like that.
Well,
the teams will be gone by then.
Next gen, I like the next gen stuff. I like that. I always look forward to those types of games. I want to see who runs out. We might see Dom Young's brother.
Yeah,
could do. Alex the lawyer.
Young.
He's taller than him, isn't he? I don't know if he's faster.
Imagine trying to run away from a subpoena. You've been served.
Sharks Bulldogs should be interesting. We probably get a better steer of what the Bulldogs round one team's going to look like. I wouldn't be surprised though if Critter is kept in cotton wool for this one.
Yeah,
he's Captain Bringdown.
I want to see. I would love to see him, have a crack. But he's, I think it was a quad issue.
Right.
So you're not going to risk your marquee signing for a trial match. So, and the other one, I think Jacob Kiraz. He's sort of just coming back. Well, not coming back, but he's been recovering pretty much all pre-season from a back injury that impacted him last year. So it'll be interesting to see whether how close to full strength they'll be.
Yep. Addo Carr looked sharp the other night, didn't he? He looks really good.
And love just it goes without saying, but the passion that he showed, he was in the mood. He was
when he's in the mood, he's a hell of a player, isn't he?
Well, this is the thing. You remember the start of the off season was that he was off at Canterbury, and clubs were sniffing around asking what the situation was, and that's died down a bit now. And so as results happen this year, people are going to be asking questions because. Look, let it be known, there are a stack of teams with spots in their rosters and they have money in the bank and they're all waiting to pay for somebody. But you've just got, there's going to be a domino that falls. Someone's going to be unhappy, someone's going to miss out at some point, and there's going to be rumblings. And, Addo Carr was terrific the other night. That was, I thought he was one of the standouts. Was it Tapine? What am I...
Tapine.
That's what I thought it was. We used to be. We used to have another pronunciation of that. But what did you make of Latrell as captain in that game?
Yeah, it was good. I thought he spoke really well. Obviously, the game means a lot to him, and played with a lot of passion. And look, if he's another guy, if he's in good shape, then look out. Do absolutely anything. So. He looks like he does look like he's in good shape. Like I said, they're a happy camp at South, so expectations are high, a lot of pressure.
But like the trail's used to pressure and expectation and headlines and the rest of it. So
but they've had a pretty low, when you look at the return they've got from Latrell at South. It's not much.
No,
there's been a lot of moments, a lot of brilliance and all that. But looking at results and trophies and things like that, it's
it needs to translate. And injury's been the issue in the past, which has hampered him a lot. But you're right. But there's a lot of those teams that also ran behind Penrith that have improved. I think South have improved this year. I think your Roosters have improved this year when you're looking at the talent they've brought in.
Yeah.
So, but have they improved enough to go past Penrith? Well, it's only week 2 of the trials. Who cares?
We'll see. Well, I thought Parramatta had after 12 minutes, but
I thought that was unnecessary from you. I
was just reading your notes. That's all.
Yeah. No, could you read that through the tears? Or no, they'll be all right. All right, we're going to get back to work, break some news. We'll talk to you guys on Thursday, looking at the week 2 of the trials, and then teams are off to Vegas. My goodness.
Yeah.
Ta-ta.